Hey everybody, welcome to this final video in the read-along book club for Jeff Vandermeer's Absolution. This is a bittersweet video for me to make because this is the end, everybody. Not just of this book, but of the entire trilogy. Even though it's a prequel, I read it after because that was the whole, the premise of this entire read-along is to introduce everybody, and hopefully I've created a lot of new fans out there for Jeff Vandermeer in this series of books, but to go back, read the entire trilogy, and then end it with the release of Absolution. So here we are. So I'm guessing you want to know what my overall thoughts are about this book. Well, I'm going to create a formal review, go over in detail how I feel about it and what I like and what I don't like, etc., etc. But just know that this book, I enjoyed it, but it's probably my least favorite of the entire trilogy. I know that seems kind of like a hot take, perhaps. I do know that there are some people who didn't even finish this book who are starting on the read-along. There are other people out here who really love it. However, it feels like, and again, I'll get more to this in my review, but it's one of those things I think that when Vandermeer wrote the Southern Reach trilogy, he wrote it all in one go, even though the books were released, I think a few months apart. He wrote it all in one go. It's a cohesive story that you can't take out one of those books and make anything just as good, if that makes sense. They all require each other. This book, however, Absolution, I feel, exists outside of that spectrum. So I don't know if I'd go as far as to say if you haven't read this book and you've read the Southern Reach trilogy to not read it, but I don't think it's necessary. I really don't. I don't think it really brought anything new to the world, the universe, the lore, you might call it. It's kind of like, man, how do I put this? It almost feels like sort of director's commentary in a way, even though it's not director's commentary. It's an actual novel. And I will also talk about this in my review, but I would not read this book first. I know it's a prequel. In no way would I read this book first, because the great thing about the original trilogy and being just kind of thrust into the environment is that you don't know what the hell's going on. You don't really know what the Southern Reach is. You don't know what they got going on. You don't know that they're a clandestine agency with ulterior motives and, are using people. And you learn all that in this book. And so that's what I'm saying, is that if you read this book first and then you went into Annihilation, it just wouldn't have the same mystery to it. You'd already have like a solid background into what Central is, also what they're about, what the Southern Reach is, how corrupt they are, and so on and so forth. And yeah, so I know I'm preaching to the choir here, or I'm preaching to people who already know what all this is, because theoretically you guys have all read this. But in case you are discovering this read-along book club without having read the Southern Reach trilogy, highly recommend you not read this one first. It's gonna, I don't want to say taint your view, but and it's funny, and I know I'm going on tangents here, and don't worry, there'll be chapter selections down below if you don't want to hear me ramble. But I mean, you often see writers like, say, Isaac Asimov with the Foundation series. He came back after the fact and wrote Prelude to Foundation, which gave it obviously a little bit more information of Harry Seldon and et cetera, and how the world was and why it was that way and what all this stuff was about. But even in that instance, like, it's giving you more for the people who want more. It's not necessarily required. I think you can enjoy Foundation as its own, just like I think you can enjoy the Southern Reach trilogy on its own. And honestly, I personally think you're better off if you. I know it sounds terrible, me saying all this stuff, and I really wanted to love this book, but at the very beginning, I was both afraid and excited because I didn't know what to expect. Because when someone's been away from a property for 10 years. Jeff Vandermeer, he's grown as an author. He's done different things. He prioritizes different kinds of narratives. He's just a different person. And so to go back into that world and assume it's going to be the same, that's kind of a tall order. And well, here we are wrapping this thing up. But again, I want you to understand that I'm trying to be as objective as possible, because you guys all know that this the Southern Reach is my favorite trilogy of all time, right? So if anything, hopefully this makes you understand that I am not a very biased person. I will not just stand up for a series or a property I love and just praise it endlessly because it's that property. I will like I'm saying right now, you know, I will say that Absolution is my least favorite book in the series. I also don't think you need to read it. I also wouldn't recommend reading it first. So all of these things, all of these caveats, I firmly believe, and while it's unfortunate, it is what it is. I mean, the greatest thing is this book can't taint the original trilogy for you. So if you hated this book, or because presumably you're at the very end of the book, or you finished the book anyway, you have your full thoughts out, and hopefully when I go through this final part of the book, you'll have a more informed opinion of how I feel about it, because I'm gonna obviously give my thoughts as we go, and you know. Anyway, I'm rambling, I know. How many minutes are we getting here so far? We're too many. So let's begin with the end, everybody. This is the final 80 pages of Absolution. Part of me regrets doing this large of a chunk, but I just thought 25 was a nice roundish number to end on. Plus, I was really excited to get to the end to see how Lowry came out. So let's begin with Jack in the Box. So Samuel Bronin, he popped up like a puppet fucker when Lowry was still in his tent trying to read the old gym file he'd prayed out of the Bible. He had snuck alcohol and vodka as water rations. Water weighs more by a bit, Bronin had told them. So the bottles look like I drank some. Get the hell out, Bronin. So they're all hanging out, getting drunk, again, trying to stifle this weird experience with substance, right? With alcohol. We know that Lowry's out of drugs, but yeah, they're all getting drunk, and again, I think this is part of the problem I had with it too, is that there was such a horrific mystery when Control was viewing the tapes of the original expedition. There was that sense of the unknown, and I'm gonna, again, call out H.P. Lovecraft, because the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, knowing what happened it makes it less scary, doesn't it? At least it does to me. But anyway, so then he had to drink with them, of course. You're like my grouchy younger sister, Calliope had told him. That's how I think of you. Lowry had two sisters, so we get a little bit of background on Lowry here. It doesn't really give me much context into why Lowry is the way he is, and that's my biggest problem with Lowry. Is I thought Area X was going to have changed him, and so we were going to meet a very different Lowry in Absolution than we knew in the Southern Reach trilogy, but he seems like he's always been a fuck up. He's always been just insane, which again, it's kind of disappointing, but there is a little bit of a redemption here in that, for me anyway, in that there's some characterization, there's some moments that Lowry shows he does truly care for people. So especially, what's her face, the girl he's trying to marry. But big and loud and strong are these two women, these sisters of Lowry. And the psychics, they were there too, these interesting psychics. They had spent the day issuing soothing suggestions. Think of the largest, juiciest grapefruit you've ever seen. Think of a cute little pig at the petting zoo. So we're very familiar with hypnotic suggestion and how it this seems to be sort of the beginning of it, even though we do know that Lowry has some of that suggestion ability as well. With the code words or the keywords that old Jack, not old Jack, Jack Severance. I'm mixing up old Jack and old Jim. Jack and old Jim. There I go again. As they sat around the campfire, Lowry felt a kind of warmth, a kind of loosening that frightened but also excited him. What is that? Is it because he's not on edge? He wants to be on edge because he's in this alien place, and the alcohol has kind of loosened him up a bit. But the Mish specific files had given him access to. He'd had a quick look at the expedition personnel files. Telling those stories around the campfire would be like playing Battleship. So he knows some inside details on these people, and he knew that it would compromise the integrity of the mission, because can't go poking holes and just prodding people based on their background. So anyway, go as far as the lighthouse and then strike out on his own up north, up the estuary to Deadtown. So that is his mission. We're coming full circle here because we began in Deadtown. We are going to end in Deadtown, as you know, well, more or less. Director would approve of you going to Deadtown. He's a brute. If things go badly for the main mission, they might blame me. So Jack is a little paranoid in this regard when he's giving Lowry this directive. But what did Jack really want? Lowry wondered. Exactly. What does Jack really want here? And that's another thing about this plot. It seems like it's really about money. which is kind of boring to me, especially in such a situation as this. But I guess, you know, greed is the commonality we have here with many people. So what the fuck was Lowry supposed to put his back into, and what would be his reward if fucking successful? He wants to know, why am I out here risking everything? But Jack is confirming the mission first and last, but second in the village, these other two locations in the place I call Deadtown on this map. Any files, videotapes, or other documents relating to an operation called Serum Bliss or to Seance and Science Brigade, bring back everything you possibly can. In the rooms marked on the detail map, you may find money, other types of funds. Note the location of what you can't carry. I have a list of the keywords too that will appear in the lining of your backpack, along with some of the detail room map intel near the inseam of the label. So another thing, Jack had said, if this guy, Henry Cage, turns up, assume he'll gouge your eyes out and replace them with pebbles. Treat with extreme prejudice. Henry did not look fucking dire like some Nordic gloom. Oh, sorry. Henry did look fucking dire like some Nordic gloom flick where a buzzing fly trapped in a room was the only other fucking character. I love that description. I've seen those movies, goddammit. I watch a lot of foreign films, so I know exactly what he's saying. And I will continue to commend Vandermeer here on the way he characterizes, right? He's able to explain things without sort of just explaining them visually. It's always with a simile or a metaphor or something like that, and he just fucking nails it every time. I'm saying the F word a lot. I apologize. I think Lowry is inside me. But that's another interesting thing, is how Henry became a much more prominent character in this, because in Acceptance, he was a very background character. I remember he had that weird tilt of his head. He was kind of an odd dude, but he never seemed incredibly threatening, with the exception of, I think, the last time that Saul talked to him. There was something odd about him. But anyway, moving on. Jack in the Box called him Barrel Boy twice during that fucking convo, but also Thistleblower. So Jack is, we know all of this, right? We know about the thistles. We know about the Commander Thistle, I think he's called, and the Barrel Boy. So this is all new to Lowry, but it's not new to us. So we understand what Lowry is getting into. But Jack in the Box also had given him the False Daughter Project. The files felt like they'd been written by a bad campfire storyteller. So old Jim had a daughter too. Sad, messed up Cass. So this is when we get a bit of empathy from Lowry toward old Jim. And old Jim is a very tragic character. He's very consistent with the characterization in all of the Southern Reach, right? Because they're all tragic characters. And I really like this part because of that reason, because that we're seeing some kind of humanity in Lowry outside of just the fact that he likes a woman and he loves a woman, wants to get with her, marry her even, which always seemed kind of like a weird plot. But anyway, old Jim had control words, and old Jack in the Box had given them to Lowry. So this is what I was talking about earlier. The kind of thing Lowry hated worst. Bats fucking suck. So we understand that Lowry does not like bats. But Jack put stock in old Jim. But the file on old Jim he gave Lowry was nothing to write home about. The guy seemed like a basket case and rammed by a truck shot at. She died instantly, and he lost a lot of memory. This is talking about his wife, of course, old Jim's wife, including everything about that op, including about his own fucking wife. So this, again, old Jim is very, very similar to Control in that he was manipulated, used, he was kind of dragged through the mud. His life was just torn apart. Now, granted, that didn't happen to Control necessarily. That's one thing I do like about this section, is that it's giving us new perspectives on old Jim. More than we had from the False Daughter, the central novella. But anyway, so Central used that to construct the idea of a car accident. So again, using. See, I'm hoping you can understand how knowing all of this before you're reading Annihilation, it wouldn't be as good. From the files, Lowry couldn't fucking tell if the daughter, quote unquote, ever existed, and there was a real, quote unquote, false daughter, another Cass, and what the fuck did that mean? Exactly, what did that mean? It's something that I've had a really difficult time wrapping my head around, because I believe old Jim, or Cass left old Jim, his daughter left old Jim. I think she was an adult, right? So visually speaking, this woman would have had to look damn near identical to his daughter, at least as he remembered her, unless this accident and everything else, and the drug, I remember he took a black pill. All of this stuff just kind of clouded his judgment and his perception. I don't know. But now it's confirmed. Cass in the second one was definitely not real Cass, because I know maybe we knew that already. It's been a little while since I, read that. I know this is a very long series. Yeah, it brings more tragedy, but also more depth to the false daughter story, because he was creating a connection with this woman who he thought was his daughter, maybe or maybe not. He didn't believe it. He kind of believed it. That's what I like about it. Is he was even having some kind of development or relationship with a proxy. So that to me, giving in this section, giving more context to that story makes it even more powerful, because that is, of course, my favorite one. False daughter, real daughter, real daughter. It bothered Lowry and nagged at him that they'd done that to old Jim. So yeah, he's actually upset. And this was the moment while reading this that I'm like, okay, Lowry's a real person. He's not a cartoon character. Finally, we have something to hold on to, and I like that. That was kind of a bit of a saving grace for me. But old Jim had been smarter than he looked and managed to fuck Jack in the money somehow, and Jack needed it back. So here we go. Yeah, money, 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 right? Because old Jim had also fucked up Central, quote unquote, some perfectly good minds for nothing after we took such good care of him, Jack said. Old Jim playing the piano at Central, too relaxed, and too many people viewed it and got infected. So what does this mean? So which didn't make Lowry that happy about finding old Jim if the guy could fucking rip off a song and put knives in, Lowry said. So there is some kind of power to old Jim's piano playing, and that's something that we didn't quite grasp, I don't believe, until now. So then here we are, Commander Thistle, who also knew Schubert, and then they are down to 16 at base camp, so we are losing people. He fell asleep to the echo of Psychic Twins' Titanic snores, but when he woke up, they were down to 15. So just sleeping, basically. We're ticking these people off one by one by one, which brings us to Haunted Walkie-Talkie TWHUT Fest. So that's another bit of Lowry slang. The walkie-talkies turned against them, and the next morning, when Sky tried to contact the village advance team, screams, pleading, a manipulative child's voice, incomprehensible. So there is some kind of mysterious sound coming out of the walkie-talkies. Is it fake? They debate. The strangled quality of the child's voice, how the speech seemed to be trying to approximate something it had heard from afar, distant, garbled, or was being said through a bloody mouthful of broken teeth. Quite the description yet again. Also, we know that Area X is about mimicry, of course. They don't know that quite yet, but it's what it does. So here we are. There's no juice left in that. It's just going to sit there like a toy. The last one from the walkie squawkies you recognize. That's a recording of something said at the camp yesterday. They're surveilling us and using psyops on us. No, Lowry, no. They're not surveilling us the usual way. That's recording. He wanted to say, that's fucking impossible. Get your shit together. But the quaver in her voice warned him against it, because does she believe it a little bit? Just turn it off, he said. Turn it off and it'll go away. It's not on Lowry, using his name like it was his fault. Ooh, love that description. It's not on, 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 it's not on. So neener, right? He took, or na. He took a step back. Her combat knife was in her hand. His combat knife was in his hand. Such a cool segue, man. Vandermeer is on fire with his prose, at least. How had they gotten there? And that's such a great way to show action without showing it, right? It's the beginning and the conclusion, but our mind pieces it together. But what's even greater than that is because we're reading this book in limited third person, meaning might as well be exactly in all of Lowry's perception. We don't know, because how it had gotten there. Give me the fucking walkie-talkies, he said. We're going to take all the fucking walkie-talkies and lock them away. Do you think this means the 5 who were sent to the village are dead? Who the fuck knows? So in the end, they put all the walkie-talkies in the box, and the box started talking to them in one voice in words incomprehensible, but like buzzsaws cutting into their skulls. So they stuffed their ears full of cotton, and fuck that. So for once, he agreed with Winters, the other person. Let's throw the whole lot in the river. If the comms were from the past, maybe eventually everything would be from the fucking past. The thought occurred, because we're dealing with time travel, as we know, so where are these sounds coming from? But the very next morning, the box was back in the camp by the dead fireplace. He stood there tall and straight and said, let's shoot up the box and take it farther away. So they shot the box up with their automatic weapons and tossed it full of holes back in the river, but far distant. Cold chill. How had the box gotten back into camp? How was there such a passage of time that Lowry felt starved between lunch and dinner, but couldn't be sure it was the same dinner it was supposed to be. Their compasses had fried themselves. All the equipment for measurements, Winters reported, had become toast, toast, toast. And in the end, he took his walkie-talkie out into a sudden black water shithole of a watering hole beyond the camp and shot it dead. But he kept a small satellite phone. It had behaved. It had not talked to him. Not yet. But we do know that the director, or the psychologist, the director / psychologist from the first series, there's that mysterious phone, right, that she finds. Why no moo-moos and cluck-clucks all over the damn place? He posed to the group in general, to no applause and no response. And the giant spewing lighthouse like an oil derrick gusher in the distance. So this is one thing. So we know the lighthouse in the original trilogy was not like this. It didn't look like this. This is like a giant firework. It's like a giant spectacle, which is another one of my kind of complaints about this section or this part of the book, is that it's all so much. It's all too much. There's no mystery, because I remember reading Annihilation. Area X felt like, again, a pristine wilderness with some weird stuff in there, but it wasn't like a lighthouse shooting up like a geyser with green light or whatever color light it was. Granted, it's fresh, so maybe Area X is trying to figure out what it needs to do to sort of, resemble some kind of Earth-like reality, but it was just all so much. And plus, we know that Lowry is clouded with drugs and alcohol and et cetera, et cetera. So it's just kind of, I don't know. Is this real? Is it not real? Maybe that's the point. I don't know. But it's just a lighthouse. I see a snake rearing up on its hind legs. Snakes don't have legs. It's a pillar of smoke, a tower of ice. It's made of insects, tiny swirling green insects. So everybody's seeing something else, which is very common in Area X. Well, is it? No, I guess because when they saw the topographical anomaly, it was because of hypnosis, not necessarily because they would see different things. So again, I'm just going to say it's because it's fresh. Area X, the border just came down, so things are a little bit crazy and not hypnotic. What am I looking for? Hallucinogenic. We don't know what it wants. We don't know where its command control is. We don't know why it's mimicking us. We should go back, abort the mission. Sky did not put it to a vote, though. They would continue on soon enough to the lighthouse. So they sat around the campfire, not talking, and into his awareness there came a shadow moving through behind them. In the trees, coming down out of the trees like a vast blanket, invisible but thick, filling the space around them until Lowry couldn't breathe, but he couldn't move either, and he wanted to scream, he wanted to run away, and he could see that the others did too, and yet they could do nothing, as if encased in cement, and only their eyes shone out terrified. And Lowry tried to remember his contempt for the others, because they had been trained to ignore or deal with such phenomena. They knew it might happen, and yet so many had lost their shit so quickly. And he concentrated on calories, on his rant. So some crazy stuff is going on right now. More of Area X is revealing itself. Calorie count on a gator, not including the gristle that had the top a few thousand Hamilton's muskrat. Did they have muskrat or just a regular old marsh rats? Maybe AGs. The living wall had curled around the whole campfire, and opposite him, he saw Singer disappear into it, just completely come apart at the fucking seams in that moment, screaming and screaming until that cut off as the molecules of body became nothing more than molecules of Area X. So there we go. Another one bites the dust. He could feel the thing clawing closer, the dull hum and the rumble of the sensation of flesh moving across the back of his head, his neck. He turned and lunged into the backdrop, jumped right into the hell of skin and flesh, screaming his own name over and over. The wall of Area X felt tremulous, vulnerable, surprisingly delicate, and made him want to protect it, not destroy it. So he bit down hard, and Area X tasted like sour juice. He grappled with it to hold firm, like he was climbing a wall without purchase. And maybe in that moment, he thought he saw the face of a fucking deity in the wall of flesh, or maybe just a wall of jars exploded to fucking free their essence. Then it was gone. It just fell away. So what is happening here? There's all kinds of, a wall of Area X is coming and absorbing people in a strange way, but then it completely vanishes, or is it all in his imagination? Who the hell knows, right? Everyone's seeing different things. Lowry, as messed up as his mind is, seems to be kind of to have some more clarity than others in a way. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Fucking calories, he shouted, still spitting too. Just calories all around us. So that's when they were talking about Why can't we just eat everything? And we know Lowry eats something really weird, or someone really weird later on. Did one of you sick fuckos cut the eyes out of a hamster and replace them with pebbles? Well, this is what I heard back at Central looking through your files. What was it Whitby had said? Sad Whitby, wise Whitby, just all the Whitbys in his head. They had said, you can't escape the past. What does it mean? Into the middle of all that, Ferreira confessed he had brought a bomb to blow up the lighthouse. Shrugs. I just like bombs. In the morning, Ferreira was dead of a gunshot to the head, but no one had heard a gunshot, no trace of any bomb. He lied. Down to 13, he thought. Last words, abalone tastes disgusting, by the way. Gonna turn in. Weird chapter. Things are escalating, of course, which brings us to Slinky-Dinky, Pinky-Winky. No one slept except Lowry fucking slept like a baby that had been drugged. So by morning, with Sky kicking them in the ass to get moving, he felt refreshed. He and Area X had colluded ahead of time, choreographed the whole thing, and that wall of midnight flesh would never have hit their encampment except for him. What is going on? What does he think? What is the truth in this matter? But on the playback of what Sky had recorded, Lowry was jumping into that alien flesh, was kissing it, was dry humping it, while the others looked on in horror. But Lowry knew that was fucking false, that the vid was wrong, that this was all wrong, and he'd been biting it, stabbing it. So was he? Is he crazy? Is everybody else crazy? Is the footage crazy and wrong? Nobody knows. And I think that's the biggest thing about this is everything gets so crazy that you can never orient yourself in any such way. And I understand that's probably the point here because Vandermeer wants to show how crazy it is. But I feel like maybe dialing back the crazy a little bit or trying to put a sense of reality, tease out a sense of reality in the different POVs, not changing POVs, but different characters would have been more interesting because it would have kept us guessing. Right now, it's just kind of like, I just kind of shrug. I'm like, okay, I don't know. It seems crazy. By the time he'd reached them again, and he watched with contempt as Winters tried to turn the key and reanimate the dead. About 2 clicks past the stupid trucks, a line of slurping goo people sprang up, a surprise because the expedition had gotten sloppy. So here are all the doppelgangers, all the copies. Undulating waves of wolves, but made of black liquid and slurping their way across a liquid lava fire. By then, Lowry had snorted and swallowed a lot more drugs from Landry. Thank the gods. So who knows? Who knows what he's really seeing? Who knows what's drugs? Who knows what's Area X? Area X itself seems kind of like a drug. The enemy had stopped their shtick on all fours and now doubled dead. Exped mems good. While Landry, trapped behind that line, out of his mind on drugs, was giggling and pointing at them and ranting into the armpit of the universe. We're in the armpit of the universe. Fever Dream. Jeff Vandermeer said this was like a fever dream kind of novel, and it seems like he didn't do a lot of editing because it seems very fever dreamish. They were uggos from the way back because they mimicked most of the expedition in their gallivanting bipedal numbers, but not just like naked people. While the rest of them were ribbons that had mass that you could pump water into the lining to fill out, yet still they fucking looked like the dead expedition members somehow. The face so rubber and coalescing and also poignant as if they held memory of something true. Because they kind of do, don't they? These doppelgangers we know, they have some semblance or some DNA or some just memory, some essence of whatever they're copying. Wait until they're closer, Sky ordered. Wait and save ammo. He just let her rip in a fucking cataclysm of bullets. Screw it. And those motherfuckers all fell like wheat before the scythe. But he also didn't care for the way the doubles loped across the landscape with half their faces shot off, smiling, mutilated arms outstretched in greeting like they really were their dead pals. Creepy, right? A little bit of a creepy ending there. Even dared touch the side to one to see if he felt like the wall of flesh. Oh yeah, this is when he touches one to see if it does feel like the wall of flesh. More like a manta ray. We remember this description. Firm and smooth and a serrated roughness, but with more give and behind in the sense, yes, of something vast, breathing in and out. Very much like when Control touched the wall that got him into Area X in acceptance. Sorry, not in acceptance, in authority, and he fell through. It was like touching a manta ray and it was breathing in and out. The doubles of the dead had begun to reform despite Lowry having shot their brains out, because of course they are. The worst thing was that the feel of Lowry's weapon changed then. His automatic rifle had become flesh, elastic, and narrow, fish-like, like a fucking gar or something, and it had eyes. Toss your fucking rifles, toss them! Sky and Winters obeyed that command, but not the others, and as their weapons turned into some kind of prehistoric, narrow, long fucking gar with strange eyes, their hands fused to those creatures, the texture like a flaring slime-covered pine cone. And they could not get free, even as those fucking whatever the fuck they were thrashed about, and with a musculature more in keeping with the building, with a bulldog or bowling ball, pulled the recipient of their new motor function down into the reeds with them, fins thrashing where Lowry could hear them being devoured, both externally and internally. That is a hell of a little sequence right there, is it not? Creepy, haunting, definitely for Lowry. When they had petered out and stopped, breathing hard to look back through the safety of a lens, Lowry could see the doubles had risen again to peer at them, curious, so fully recovered from their deaths that they had arisen twice as tall as before, no longer like humans, but like carnival performers on stilts, walking across the landscape of their sideshow. Even so fey and alien and tall, the Winky-Dinkies. Not a very scary name, is it, for these things that are very scary? It began to look like better copies of the original. They looked more like they belonged in that late afternoon light, golden upon the reeds. So even his perception of his friends and the people that are gone, the people that they copied, these feel more real to him, right? I mean, I know they feel real to, or they fit in Area X, but are they feeling more real? They are feeling more real to Lowry, which is sort of, you can see him turning a bit, right? It was the imperfections of the reels of the reels that stood out that was fucking inhuman wrong. So yeah, everything is really hitting the fan now. We have the copies attacking. Area X is far more aggressive now than it ever was, and so that kind of makes me wonder why wasn't Annihilation like this? I have no idea. Was it because Area X is new and fresh and on the attack, and is Area X learning stuff, between now and when the biologist goes in? I don't know. I just know that's very different, and it doesn't seem to lead into what I would expect anyway. Which brings us to Beach of Boners, Death Destroyer. 4 left that Lowry knew of: himself, Sky, Winters, and the psychic Scaramuddy, who limped their fucking way down to the seashore by the seaside. The tinkling, pleasant sounds of the water against that rough sand and shells, the lighthouse thankfully gone boring. Yet in the morning, Lowry realized their mistake, for it was not shells that the water lapped against and surged across in that shallow water just offshore, but bones, thousands and thousands of bones. While on the horizon, the fabled dead destroyer, from the elongated briefings, listed like a blade or a wedge, but mostly looked exactly like a destroyer cut in half. For a moment, like a vast, half-submerged potato wedge, the magnetic pull of that Lowry could feel, epitomized by the word, quote-unquote, survivors. So this is the first time we're seeing the destroyer that was cut in half when the border came down, and it just seemed to vanish entirely, at least from the original trilogy. We never saw it. Beach of Bones, Death Destroyer, Lowry said, and then couldn't stop saying it. This place is undergoing temporal enticements, Scaramuddy said. Dislocations, you mean, Lowry replied, because Scaramuddy only fucking said that to stop him from saying Beach of Boners. So even with all this, Lowry has a sense of humor still, continually, everlasting. The bones, they're not real here. They're real somewhere, say I. No, they're real here, Lowry, Sky said. They're real here. We are seeing them right now, and so is the destroyer, and we'll take samples of everything. But the sea did not soothe. The seagulls were screaming shit, not making it, and he could not quite make out what they were saying. Oh, how miraculous and how deranged. The way the seagulls melted and reformed, dropped out of the sky and into the sea like eggs cracked open into yolks, splooshing into the water. The lighthouse up close did not soothe either. How it still crackled with a hard sheen of electric green if you look close. So really very surreal imagery that is being perceived by Lowry right now. The dark shapes seemed to breathe in the distant roll of the waters in Lowry's binoculars. The line of the ship's hull was fuzzy, like the edge of a wall coated in moss, but so too was the edge of the circle of the binocular lens. So after each time he put them down on a rock and did not pick them up again. Skye swore she had seen people out there, and Lowry swore she had not, because we're all seeing different things, aren't we? But it was fucking bones. Could have been the bones of the centuries of shipwrecked sailors recruited by REX. So this is a very cool image, right? An entire beach made of bones entirely. Lowry could not shut off the irrational fucking fear that one of them was actually his skull, that he'd seen the future and the future was bones and his skull lay there too, and he'd smashed it all unknowing. Skye had shown him the video at some point after the Winky-Dinkies. The video showed Skye was doing things she'd never done, including screaming at her double on top of a dilapidated picnic bench they'd never fucking passed by. So what is happening? What is being captured on video? Is that the real thing? Is that what's happening? Or is the video content itself just being completely warped by REX? She hadn't shown it to anyone because it felt like a documentary from the future showing that Skye went fucking insane, or at the very least bifurcated into two separate but equal skies, which we know happened to Whitby as well, right? I can't stay here and wait for that, Skye said to him. Are you listening to me, Lowry? She asked. Yes, I understand. You don't want to be someone else. I think that's a premonition, a warning. Maybe this way something different will happen. And the more he thought about it, 2 Lowrys could be fucking tremendous. Even 3 Lowrys or 4. So Lowry is all about having clones of himself. How do you know I'm not already someone else? She asked. I started out this exped talking to the original, and you're the original, he said forcefully. I know I'm talking to you, only to you. You are you. You are you. You are you? I mean, you are you. I can't stay here and wait for this, she said again. You're going to just fade into the gray lands like a fucking wraith? What the fuck, Skye? I gave you a ring. We committed to each other with witnesses. Still clinging to this. I don't know why. There was a boat, a green rowboat. It's not real, Skye, he said to her as they kept loading provisions into the goddamn boat. It's an illusion. A magician's been practicing his act on this beach, and I'd give him an F for fuck no. Never known what's real and not, Lowry. I know. With the giant metal potato half-sunken wedges, it's not real, it's enticement. It plays on your need for control and the need for salvage, but it's just a sea rack. It's just skulls on a beach, a false fucking horizon, as sheets of metal and matted lashing together lifeboats. Nobody is alive out there. Not a fucking soul. Can't the bones convince you? All these fucking bones, they're real. They mean something. They're telling you not to go. Don't go, Skye. Don't go. You, Winters, you can go. And Godspeed, why don't you go? Check it out. Tell us what's over there and behind the curtain, over the rainbow, however the fuck you want to view it, down the fucking sunken yellow brick road. Tell us if you see a magic lamppost while you're at it, complete with a fucking centaur, giraffe, or whatever the fuck it was. It felt like more than he'd ever said before in his whole fucking life, and like a lot less. He's a complete Section 8 discharge, Winter said to Skye. But I think you already knew that. No, I don't think I knew that. I'm right in front of you both, you assholes. There's nothing for us here, Winter said. And again, I must raise the issue of the fucking boat. Isn't the fucking boat convenient? Is this not the most convenient fucking boat in the fucking history of boats? Surely you would have trusted the stupid fucking boat made of stardust and the applesauce and the applesauce apparently pouring out of your skulls where your brains used to be? I can vouch for it myself, Winter said. What? I found it, this perfectly innocent boat. I don't think you did, Winters. I think you're just saying that so you can go visit the destroyer. It's seaworthy, Skye said. It has oars. We have to try. We have to see for ourselves. There's no one here, anywhere. But there might still be someone out there. Help me push the boat out, Jamal, Skye said, and Winters went to the left side while she got on the right side. Do not do this, Lowry said. Friends, lovers, comrades, what the fuck am I supposed to do? He watched as they receded into that vast indifference, the arc of sky. I'll just fucking wait here for your return, Lowry said. Just fucking loiter around for you. Near sobbing, he thought that was the lack of fucking drugs, not the loneliness, not the fear of being alone. They just kept rowing, and Skye didn't look back, and the destroyers seemed to dwarf them much more than just moments before. He sank to his knees in the bones, the crunch and the cracks, the glittering mass of them, and he watched Skye and Winters grow distant. The next morning, he couldn't see the fucking boat at all. By dusk, the green boat had drifted back empty, run aground on the bones, and he had his answer. Idly, Lowry realized he hadn't seen Scaramucci for 2 fucking days. Wow, the end of that point, or the end of that part, Lowry's alone. Absolutely alone. His fiance, alleged fiance, has abandoned him to go check out the destroyer because she knows there's something out there, as well as Winters. Which brings us to 3 equals the dead towns. Not enough fucked up stuff in barrels, because there never is. Am I right? Lowry cut the stupid fucking control words out of his sleeve. No Bible for him. The stupid fucking sounds Jack in the Box wanted him to say in front of old Jim for this turd of a Mish within a Mish Moots Hour. Lowry felt like dealing with old Jim in the old-fashioned way the man's name suggested. The point was, Lowry would continue the mission on his own terms. In False Daughter Cass's apartment, Lowry found fuck all, not even the goddamn frog terrarium Jack had told him to check. Some ruin of a moldy fruit, the pomelo, in the fridge, now a green fungal geode. What Lowry dubbed the Institute for Fucking Barrel Researches, he found fucking goddamn shitty not as well, except the surprise of jelly dead bodies stuffed in some of the barrel. Okay, well, there's something. Sometimes he cried out Landry's name, hoping for drugs, but really Lowry wanted to cry out Sky's name, except she'd made her decision, chosen half a destroyer over him, chosen a beach of bones over him. Sad. Which brings us to MOLT, Revolt. Dead Town lived up to its name, and Lowry, so sick of scenery, tried to fucking ignore the place until he made his objective. City Hall. Yeah, trees. Lots of fucking trees. A meadow, marsh, the fucking usual. Move on. So fuck it, and la-di-da, up the stairs it was. Area X didn't want him to tarry here, Lowry felt. Yet fucking tarry he would. Tarry is proper avenging Mish Wraith. The crack that was a door into the secret room. Inside the junk you found in secret fucking rooms. Stuff scrawled on the walls, a devil's pentagram of a bunch of diagrams on the floor, and burn out pieces of gunk in the middle of each circle. Well, maybe he'd just check out the words on the wall first then. Except it felt like nonsense. The parts he got, the parts he didn't. Like, who the hell was Gloria? We know who Gloria is. Who the hell was this James guy? Commander fucking Thistle? We also know who that is. It was all the fucking names of the expedition. And was that meant to be some kind of joke? Well, we do know time travel exists here, so that is our explanation, folks. So it appears that Area X is becoming this cycle, this never-ending cycle. That his name was circled along with Hargraves and other now dead people? What? Lowry turned to the dirty laundry in the left corner. From the middle distance, it looked like some kind of slumpity-dumpity body lay within the clothes, all of which kind of fucking resembled a sleeping bag, except it was instead the sleeper. Could that be a faded SR coagulated on what might have been a sleeve? So he ransacked the strange pile for whatever he might find, and that was basically nothing. He found a scrap of paper with words writ fucking large upon it, "Do not eat." And this, my friends, is where things get really, really damn weird. I'd always wondered what Vandermeer meant about cannibalism when he talked about this book. Now we know. I still don't understand what the point of it is, but let's move on, shall we? You mean like eat the fucking body, the fucking dead body of a dead fucking person? Then he wished he'd not said it aloud, because now he knew what lay in front of him, that it was more than skin. Do not eat. But that must mean eat? Of course it does. Jesus fuck, eat a dead person. Smell came to him then, or more than he became aware of a smell that had always been there. It was an amazing smell, like vanilla and lavender, but not frou fucking frou, cloy fucking. No, wait, it was a savory smell, like chicken and a pot of spices. A taste bud tingling smell coming from the dead skin husk, fucking cast off wax dribbling figure. My money is that this is Whitby or one of the Whitbys. If the pile smelled that good, maybe it would taste fucking great too. So he's eating. This is a very Alice in Wonderland thing, is it not? You know, don't drink me. Yeah, I'm sure that was the inspiration here. He had reached his hand out and touched the remembered accordion flubber sweat of the foot part, the tangled shank of leg part, and found that now it had the perfect crispy texture of the skin on a perfectly cooked turkey. Oh, how Lowry could fucking resist. Slowly, still sitting against the wall, he pulled the husk toward him, foot first, until the delicate wafer-thin heel lay clenched in his hand like a fucking unique communion. The texture, though, felt to his touch almost as bad as when, in the shower, he'd backed into an ex-girlfriend, butt to butt, and he recoiled like her butt was an alien, or his was, and it was just wrong. That was so fucking wrong that two butts should touch. Probably one of my favorite parts in this entire book, or favorite lines of dialogue, or not dialogue, of description. Jeff has a knack of deep characterization and describing things in such a way that feel so real. They feel so human. They feel so genuine because of their ridiculousness and because of their personality, right? That's associated with it. Yet it was with only a little hesitation that he tore a piece of foot husk off with his teeth, contemplated the taste that lit up his buds so fucking hard he almost got an erection. So this is some tasty stuff here. With each bite, Lowry felt hungrier still, so that he could not get enough. Lowry pulled the other fucking leg to him, and that too soon gone until he had no fucking choice but to kneel over the rest of the remains and shove handfuls of collapsed pelvis and torso husk into his mouth. Ravenous. Could he who hated the head of a fucking fish included with his dinner stomach eating a fucking face? He can. But Lowry had not expected that he would recognize the fucking face. Whitby Allen's face. There it is. I know I forgot, but it's confirmed. This is Whitby Allen. Whitby Allen is the rogue, everybody. And I will give credit where credit is due. I originally thought it was going to be, did I think it was going to be Lowry? I can't remember who I thought it was going to be originally. I think maybe Lowry. But no, Whitby Allen is the rogue. Pretty much confirmed here. Fuck. Whitby's face sat there staring at him, accusing him when he'd done nothing fucking wrong. He hadn't killed Whitby and eaten him. He'd just come across some human remains and eaten them because they smelled so fucking good. And who could blame a man for that given how much of a fucking remnant the expedition was? And oh shit, he was going insane? Yes. I'm sorry, Whitby, Lowry said to the husk. I'm so fucking sorry, friend. I didn't mean it. I meant it at the time, but I wouldn't have done it if I'd known it was you. I probably would have done it if I knew it was you, but maybe not. Hard to tell, but it's done now. It's done now, Whitby. Except Whitby fucking Allen also ran back at the good old SR building. So Reason told Lowry that this couldn't be Whitby, which meant it must be some kind of motherfucking illusion, with no punchline other than that he'd already eaten so much of Whitby that what did a fucking face matter? In some cultures, Lowry imagined eating a local animal's face was a fucking delicacy. Of course it is. Like goat's face, right? Or goat head. What would Whitby do? He asked aloud. Well, he replied because no one else could. Whitby would eat Whitby's face. Of course. So Lowry took Whitby's face with both hands and he crunched down on the fallen in nose part, which tasted in a satisfying way like marrow and gristle. Then, when not a scrap was left, Lowry sighed, burped, and returned, sleepy, to the wall. If anything, Lowry felt like he understood less and less. But at least he felt full. Finally, fucking full. So what does this all mean? I have no goddamn idea. I think Jeff Vandermeer is just getting weirder and weirder and weirder. Which brings us to Tyrant to King's Dread. Up on the messed up roof, Lowry paused to think about his next move, to digest, to take the view back toward the sea. Tiny, but the fucking lighthouse still blared out. It flared green in waves, and the marshes seemed light-fucked by the green tendril molecules reaching out like a fake fucking animation of a bad fantasy flick. This was bullshit. He'd never find gold bars or money or whatever the fuck Jack thought old Jim had been sitting on. Nor even find old Jim. Hopeless. What he'd thought might just be loose planks and reveal itself to be splattered remains of a piano come apart and a pile of the roof. Then it was true dusk, sudden, brutal. The lighthouse burnt unbearably bright. Winters had the bad fortune to intervene then, to appear then like a fucking jack-in-the-box. I got free of that destroyer stuff, Winters said. Uh-huh. Yeah, really, dead end, just like you said. To you? You wanted to say, and Sky? But that was just a trap that Ariax wanted to punish him for eating the MOLT. You follow me here? Oh, I've been here a long time. I didn't have to follow you. You've got scales turning into eyes all over your body, Lowry. So I do, Winters, so I fucking do. Thanks for pointing that out, even though I don't know I don't think you were supposed to tell me that. Very kind of you. Because he was seeing Whitby astride a giant greenish-white alligator down below, just walking by as casually as a fucking tourist procession, and he knew that wasn't fucking true. That was not fucking true. Did you see what's down below? Lowry asked. What is it? Winters asked. Lowry shoved him over the edge because he knows he's a cop. He's not really this guy. Winters had not been real any more than Whitby Lowry felt. His hand shook as he watched the fucking pyrotechnics out in the marsh for a while, which might just be in his eyes. The stars came into focus, went out of focus. Maybe he would still do as Jack had asked. Maybe he should fuck off to the village bar now. Maybe this was where all this had been heading. Man, did he miss Landry. There had been a pen pal for life, a conversation partner, a good fix, a bad fix. It was all the same. Which brings us to horse tongues. It fucking was and fucking wasn't Whitby, who, now like a horse's tongue, slapped atop a butcher's block. Except it changed again, so it was 100 fingers and a bowling ball that had 100 holes, and he was with his giant sisters in the local alley, with a skating rink and the smell of loaner bowling shoes and rancid figure skates, and the one telling him to hurry up and the other just shrugging, with her huge soft drink and making sounds with straw, the ice, the dregs, as he tried to line up the pins, except he'd never line them up. Gutter balls for a solid century. I love how this bowling alley is a character in itself within the series. Though where his thoughts had come from, he did not know, as if he were a meal now and someone gorging on him. He wanted to make it out raw, animalistic way, no matter what had overtaken him and was still overtaking him, the way it had patience, the way it had depth, how it came from so far away in time, and suddenly Lowry was there. Air was water. And I love the alignment of the text. It's very House of Leaves, is it not? Across the haunted landscape, Lowry strode, and he did not fucking appreciate how it changed. It kept changing, but not how the fucking rabbits kept appearing and winking out, so he knew they were just in his brain. That was it. Lowry was over as a reality and a fucking concept. Whitby not, the changeling. This rogue, becoming restless within him and wanting out. How Whitby came from the future but inhabited the past, and the one he'd met at the Southern Reach, innocent of either, still peering out at him from the cafeteria. Is that right? Cafeteria corner, that's right. I don't forget. Lowry likes to mess up words. So back in this other line, that was it. Lowry was over as a reality and a fucking concept. So I think that is the transition point where Lowry has sort of lost his identity, becomes someone else, something else. He even ate a Whitby copy. So, yeah, he's all kinds of things. The casual way the changeling's molt told him that the world was already gone. That the fucking thing they fought in here, the way it had no central nervous system, no fucking sorcerer, came out from behind the curtain so Lowry could shoot him in the fucking eyeball. That this thing wanted the past too, in an automatic, thoughtless way. How Central had meddled in the business of the Forgotten Coast and how Area X had homed in on that first occurrence. So I do like the fact that this wasn't necessarily a fluke. There was something already going on strange in the Forgotten Coast. There were some magical properties, or maybe magic's the wrong word, but some supernatural properties of some sort. And that is why I guess Area X homed in on this location on Earth, because of its properties. That the Area X Lowry had fucking experienced was the best possible outcome, that Area X would never not happen, that there was no off switch, there was no other time in which it faded away or was activated, but if it colonized the past, then everything would get worse. Exactly. So there is no escaping this whatsoever. Once you introduce time travel, everything's out the window. The linearity of events is no longer a thing whatsoever, because now you're creating a circle, pretty much. A circle you can't escape, which is an interesting metaphor in itself, is it not? These fantastical visions he could not quite credit, that he distrusted, as if they were on the residue of drugs he had taken. There would be no space for any human soul as the world spun farther off its rotation, the sense of the seasons, the terrain changing as Area X transformed it, and there was so much more spinning out of him with a golden dust and dissipating into the night that made him sad. So he's almost, I guess he's kind of flaking off like the biologist a little bit. But also now he panicked that he would never be the same. He began to run toward the lighthouse as if the lighthouse could save him. But really, what he hoped is that he would find sky there, and yes, even winters, and that he could explain this all to them before it left him. Then maybe he would be a real hero. Maybe then he would be a fucking god. Lowry became himself again. Interesting, right? He's back to himself. I thought he didn't exist as a concept anymore. He in front of the lighthouse in the darkness, lit by the silver sliver of a moon that should not shine so bright. The destroyer is still there on the horizon. He'd run out of drugs. He'd run out of MOLT. He'd run out of we know what that is again. The lighthouse lay dull and dark, like the night after a rave. No green light, just the lighthouse from mission briefings, but with fortifications now facing the sea. So we know what that is, right? It's coming back from annihilation. Spilling out from the mouth of the lighthouse, he could see bodies, the lighthouse clogged with them. The reoccurring body of Henry from the SNSB, dressed in black, that oval, pale face unmistakable, even in final sleep. But Lowry was headed elsewhere. His fucks would return, his self would return, he knew, if he just kept going to the end. Which brings us to Village Dump. The village was a dump, and everywhere on every wall, as if to test Lowry's patience in another way, the graffiti tag of TWHUT. And Whitby, the real Whitby back at Central, had warned him about TOT, but what the flying fuck did TOT mean? So he tore them all out of the wall. He lit into those messages like they were the enemy, and down they came until the path leading to the village bar was strewn with the trash of that. It wasn't what his brain was receiving, but what his body had endured to that point. Lost son Burke, call of scene. Saul, if you see this, I'm in Bleekersville. I'm safe. Taking in who I can down the street at 6:20. No. Then Lowry had crept inside, shut the door behind him. No dead here, just overturned tables and chairs, a half-crushed middle in the middle left corner, old Jim's piano. Something spilling out of the crushed and broken left side in envelopes. He opened first one and then the other, noting the music sheets from the winter's journey on the stand and the blood of the keys. But they were all letters to Cass. And which Cass was that? From the dates Lowry knew, it must be the fucking prehistoric one. Of course it was, right? Because it's when old Jim is metaphorically reconnecting with his daughter. Unexpectedly, Karen Hargraves stood there in the doorway staring at him. Hargraves, he called out too loud, like she stood on the other side of a canyon. You're alive. So you made it, Lowry, she said, but something in her tone did not reassure. The others make it? No, Lowry, they did not. That's a shame, he said. That's a damn shame. Although did he care at all? He couldn't be sure. How'd you survive? She asked. The usual way, Lowry said. Unusual ways. I survived because it turns out I don't work out there. I'm part tragedy out there, part of this place. Here I do well. I'll take your word for it, Lowry said diplomatically. You like this place? I do. You'd rather be here and dead than out there and alive? I don't think that's the choice. Not anymore. It's been hard for you, Lowry said. Hargraves laughed. Hard? Well, yeah. No one knew it would be like this, did they? Walk in the park, he said. Although you also said titty and glory hole a lot, Lowry. So maybe we shouldn't have listened to you so much. What do you think? Going through Jim's letters to his daughter, I see, Hargraves said. Rooting through them like a rat. Did he really have a daughter? There's nothing in the letters that will help you. No off switch, no intel. So you might decide to put them down and leave them be. You might even decide to clean up your mess and put them all back in the piano. So you know about old Jim, Lowry said. Do you happen to know where he is now? He noticed that Hargraves had a wicked-looking handgun in addition to a first-rate sniper's rifle, and she somehow affixed it, a silencer to it, very fast. I do happen to know where he is now. I've been out here long enough to figure out Jim, Lowry, to figure out lots of things. So brief me, Lowry said. Pretty clear what happened. He was sitting at the piano and Area X was changing him, and at some point I think He went outside to that little bridge, you know it? Of course you don't, but I do. And he was in agony by that point, Lowry. He was injured and his nerves were shot, and he was probably hallucinating because the border was about to come down. And he was afraid. He was so afraid and so alone that I wasn't there for him, and neither were you, you stupid fuck. He lost his hand, and from the evidence, the other was eating him slowly. They sat there down on the bridge waiting for the dawn, and then he died. He died alone on that bridge, waiting for help. And eventually, I came along and found him, or I found the husk that REX left of him. Maybe he's still kind of alive then, if he left a husk, Lowry said. Maybe you just could show me the... Shut up. When he'd imagined a reunion with another Exped member, it hadn't felt like this. He'd instead confided all he'd learned, all the wisdom, all the knowledge he'd retained from Whitby, Knotts, MOLT. Who the fuck are you, Hargraves? Who are you really? Who am I, Lowry? Great question. I'm old Jim's daughter. Not his real daughter, although his real daughter was nothing to write home about. He was better off with me. The false daughter project. She must be lying. So is this really her? I don't know that we know for sure, but it is, it's an interesting connection. Look, Lowry said, hoping to take back some kind of control. Why don't you come to the extraction point with me and we can sort all this out back at Southern Reach? Extraction point? You mean crawl back through the tunnel? Even though there's no expedition anymore and no suits? It's time to go home, Lowry said. In time, maybe I will come home, except not through the front door, she said. But you'll never know when or how. Maybe I'll disappear, poof, like Jim's real daughter for a while. You might appreciate the poetry of that, you know. He might. From wherever or whenever he's watching now. Come on, Lowry said, and taking a chance. I'm Jack's failsafe. I'm the one embedded with the expedition to take over if anything went wrong, and I say we head for the extraction point. I knew Jim well. I know Jack. You're not the failsafe. You're the jackass who takes the attention off the failsafe. Threes, Lowry. Jack always works in threes. But I'm done being that. I never really was that because some of us at Central actually believe in the future. And you know what I'm going to do if I make it back? I'm going to wipe the whole slate clean, one way or the other. Going to be the one who cleans house. I'll be the one, starting with you. You're making a mistake. Put the gun down. I have so much to tell you. I've seen so much. No, I don't think so, because you know what I found in Jim's pockets along with a few diagrams of the alligator in a secret room. The impossible thing. Fuck, I don't know, Hargraves. Put the gun down. A piece of paper. And do you know what it had written on it? Kill Lowry. It read, Kill Lowry. And I've been asking myself how he could even have known your name. What happened after I left? That he could have known your name. Who gave it to him? Why it was important. But on some level, I've decided it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters why. What do you think, Lowry? I think you should take a breath, Hargraves, Cass. I think you should give this a lot of thought. What it means to kill Lowry, it says. Hargraves said, distant. And you know what? I think I will. And then she shot him. Such a cool scene, right? They're in the village bar and seeing the remnants of old Jim's piano and the letters to Cass and kind of what happened to him, how he went out and sat on the bench for a while and kind of waited for just Area X, I guess, to consume him. So that's a tragic, sad end we didn't quite get until now. So I'm glad we did. Which brings us to two men in a fucking boat thing. Nothing was better than getting shot. Nothing to be shot and still be walking around. He couldn't feel his right arm or part of his face, but who the fuck needed part of his face? He could still see, and there was warmth on his left side. So Lowry survived the shot, or did he? The lighthouse was shining in his face and the back of his neck from all positions. And there on the horizon, parallel to his horizon, on another raised berm trail far out, there was a figure gamboling about, swinging its arms and shouting, or was it screaming? Was it him? His own true doppelganger? This was his first thought. Landry. Landry coked up. Landry on meth. Landry clearly on whatever he had left. And Lowry crowed in triumph. He came across Landry again, this time next to that damned green boat. Do you know how you're sounding to others, my glorious Landry? You hurt your own drugs now, not the other way around. You're so fucking high. Enumerate, reconstitute something I forgot. We could just fly out of the sea and never come back, Landry said. Just keep flying around. Just do that thing. What did I say? Sail, motor, not fly. There's sauce out there and I want all of it. I want to walk into the sauce and eat it all. Not walking, swimming, not sauce, water. Glide the kings in the sauce just for us. Fucking swim, motherfucker. Sail, asshole. I mean, Landry, what the fuck are you on? Because I'm taking the same stuff. You tell me, Lowry, tell me. Do you like boats, Landry? Just to change the subject, just to look away from old mangrove hands. No, not boats at all. Yes, but we are not in a boat. And Landry was right. It wasn't really a boat. It was some creature low and long against the water, and they motored in the shallows within the shadow of his mouth, and the safety railing he thought was the edge of the boat was actually a row of teeth. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Landry, this isn't fucking right. This is all wrong. This is all wrong, Lowry. What the fuck even? What the fuck even? Shut up. Shut up. Holy fuck. And so on and so on. Because that was when Landry lunged at him and Lowry had to shoot him in the face and then plunge over the side as the mouth tried to close over them both. Then it was the hard, long slog from the shore to the border extraction point. He just wanted to make it to the border was all. That was all he wanted. Even with fake Landry out there holding up the bag of drugs like he was a candy master on some dark ritualistic night, wrangling that candy for kids, wrangling the candy while Rome burnt like a candle, like a flame, in the vessel of his brain. Which brings us to third skin. For a time then, Lowry felt like he was unconscious, but walking still, and for a time too, as if he had fallen in footstep for footstep, with the marching soldiers of scientists and psychics approaching the distant green light of the future as if he were in their ranks. But when he came to, instead, the hole in the ground, the corridor entrance lay in front of him, though he had a nagging thought in the back of his head that he was not himself, and even more of his body had gone numb. And was it the bullet, or was it something else? The second skin that had always made him queasy. It made him shocked and shocked, and fuck, that wasn't a word, but it was in his head. The suit right there, and all he had to do is put it on. But it was illuminated somehow by the lighthouse rays, and he could see refracted back how the suit was moving. He believed he could feel the bullet inside him like a cold, dead weight. Ah, but the numbness hurt. There was a suit, there was a corridor, there was the corridor, but he could make it out. He had to make it out. He had to be a hero. He had to be able to set his own terms. He might even run the joint one day. And we know this is exactly what happens. We know that's why Central gives him all this power, because he is the hero of the day. He undressed and naked stood before his suit, and the suit spoke to him and it said, "Are you ready?" And he said, "Fuck yeah, I'm ready." And the suit said, "Don't worry, Lowry, I'll help you get into the suit." And it said, "I'm scared," because he was scared and he couldn't stop crying. And the suit said jauntily, "Don't be scared. Just get into me. Just get in. Let me cover you up. Let me cover all up. You see that Hargraves suit? She passed through here a while back. Good." And yeah, he was happy for her. "Maybe I am the last. I am going home." "If you're talking to me," the suit said, "you're long gone, my friend." The first and the last, right? Double meaning. "Anyone else pass through?" "I told you, Hargraves. She made it through." "Got any of the good drugs left?" "Yeah, in my suit." "But you're all suit." "Ain't that right?" "I just need to sip for a bit, suit," Lowry said, "and then we'll cross over." And the suit nodded at him, and then watched the sun set over that beautiful fucking place together, propped up against a log, and it was all right, fucking good even, for a time. Which brings us to the end of Absolution. Kind of a crazy, a talking suit end. Lowry was shot. He was the rowboat was a monster that most likely ate Hargraves and not Hargraves, but Winters and Sky and everything else. Everything else. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments below. Did this meet your expectations, exceed it, or did it not meet your expectations like me? There's a lot I do love about it. I just wish that our first jaunt in the Area X was more like Annihilation. And I know, again, these are my expectations, but it was so batshit crazy that it just felt like so much of everything. It's like when you watch let's say an action movie, and it's just constant action. There's no rhythm to it. I think that's how I feel about this final section in general. It was just the proportion of normality and weird was normal was like nil to nothing, and then weird was everywhere. And so without that kind of contrast, it just loses its power. But I'm gonna make a review. I'm gonna collect my thoughts, and you probably know all my thoughts now, but maybe you'll learn some new things. And I would love to hear your thoughts. So let me know down below. And this is 25 episodes into this epic series, my biggest read along I've ever done. And I'd love to know what other books out there would you like me to create in this format, or the videos in this format, because I really like doing it. I get a lot more out of books and meeting a lot of new people. And this series has had a lot of views comparatively. Most of these read-alongs don't get any views. I don't think people like to read books this way, but you know, this channel is a hobby of mine, right? It's not a career, so I'm not chasing clicks. I don't know, me talking to a camera, talking to you out there, it helps me articulate things. It helps me figure out things for my own. And you know, sometimes when you externalize the way you feel about something, particularly literature like this, books like this, you gain a new appreciation. You learn some things. Not only what you like, what you don't like, what other people are going to illuminate for you to enjoy. So with that said, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you guys have been here the whole time, I'd love to, let me know down below. If you've watched this entire series, please let me know, because I would like to thank you each very personally down in the comments, because this has been a long series. It's been a lot of work. It's a lot of gigabytes. It's a lot of time. It's yeah, I think we've been going like 3 months or something like that. I started this series way back. So yeah, it's been a journey, my friends. And I hope to see you guys in other read-alongs, or just on my Discord server, or on the channel in general. Thanks for the support. And always, as always, thanks for reading along with me. Thanks for hanging out with me. And I will definitely see you in the next one. Bye.